Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees, the podcast. Well, Spencer Jones, who already was sent to the AAA minor league camp for the Yankees and will not be on the opening day roster, will likely also be joined by Dominguez, who, even though he's been tearing it pretty well and just recently hit another home run off of Verlander, the hopes of him being on the opening day roster also seem slim as well. And the Yankees also making another roster move, having George Lombard Jr., who been flashing a lot of leather, but not exactly doing as much with the bat, will also be sent down to the minor league camp as well. So kind of give you an update there as the Yankees trim down the roster as we get closer to opening day. And we'll just take another quick peek in on Team USA as they will move on to the quarterfinals with some other unlikely teams there, such as Italy, who are 4-0 right now, who actually had that on their bingo card, as they say. So before we get started, make sure you subscribe to this podcast, Section 420 Talkin Yankees, the podcast, wherever you get your favorite podcast. There's also the YouTube version of the show, so go to YouTube, search Section 420 Talkin Yankees, and subscribe there as well. So a few days ago, the decision was made to send Spencer Jones down to the minor league camp, as they say. It was probably of no surprise. I know the big guy came in here, hit a couple mammoth home runs, but it all gets back to the fact of where you're actually going to play this guy. And you're not going to have him on your major league roster if he's only going to play once a week, or, just be a pinch runner or a defensive replacement, in the seventh inning or something late in a game there. A guy like that, with his potential there, you wanted him to get as many bats as possible. He's kind of been there, done that now. Wasn't, AAA last season for a chunk, but at the same time, you just want to keep feeding him as many bats as possible, and then see if any opportunities opens up, whether that's because of an injury, someone goes down, poor performance, and maybe you could bring up a later time, or at some point do you include him in some sort of trade package. Now his stock value has gone maybe down just a little bit. Seems like he still gets a lot of strikeouts, but at the same time, I think a lot of teams will still have an interest in him. Just the big guy, about 6'7", crushes home runs, plays center field. I think he still has a value there, even if his stock went down just a tad bit, but still overall he has been ripping it up in spring training. And same thing with Dominguez. Seemingly he's going to be on the same route. Yankees AAA team would be pretty stacked, at least in the middle of the lineup. But again, this gets down to the fact there that especially when the Yankees re-signed Cody Bellinger, the writing was on the wall a little bit. That at least at the start of the season, he was probably not going to be the team just for a lack of spots on the roster. And same thing, you're not going to have this guy on the roster with his talent just to sit there and collect dust on the bench there. So it makes better sense to at least start him in AAA there, and again to see how the season comes upon them. But if we're going to look at their numbers, probably Dominguez as a right-handed hitter, that was kind of the big emphasis of him in the offseason. But overall, if you want to look at his numbers, 11 games, 333 batting average, and a Judgian type OPS of 1.010. So, and with 3 home runs as well. So, he answered the bell in that regard. So if it was a normal situation where, let's say, the Yankees didn't re-sign Cody Bellinger, he's probably definitely, without a doubt, your opening day's left fielder. But of course, now with Bellinger floating around, obviously he's going to be, pushed back a little bit. And if you want to look for Spencer Jones, numbers were just as good or even more impressive. Same thing, 11 games, same 333 batting average, 4 home runs, and a beyond Judgian OPS of 1.342. So, both, young guys answered the bell. They did what they had to do. I think they're impressive enough, but it just goes to the fact that right now, the Yankees have, too many outfielders right now, and you have Grisham in center field, who just accepted the $22 million qualifying offer, and you have Cody Bellinger there in left field. He's signed guaranteed for the first 2 years of his deal. Then after that, perhaps he could opt out if he wants to. So, there's no guarantee that Bellinger will be around in 3 years as well, but obviously this is looking way down the road. But right now, the Yankee outfield is kind of clogged up, so it doesn't make sense to keep those guys if they're not going to play every day. And so far, just reading different media outlooks, it looks like the Yankees are really high on Randall Grichuk, who they just signed a week ago. I kind of gave his kind of quick biography on the YouTube show last week. The Yankees have brought in a couple of these guys, such as Paul DeYoung. Looks like, though, overall, they're really high on Grichuk. And word is actually they've been trying to get him for a while, even tried to get him back last trade deadline. But unfortunately, this deal fell short, and that's probably why maybe they ended up with Austin Slater instead. And they flirted with Slater a little bit during this offseason, but that didn't really come to fruition. And I don't know why they were looking at him again. Played like 2 weeks last year. It wasn't that impressive, but it seemed like Randall Grichuk is the guy they want. They really wanted back then, and they really want now. And barring anything, it seems like he will probably get one of those bench spots there, along with Ahmad Rosario, the Yankees. That was probably one of the Yankees' first signings, right when the offseason started there. So that seems pretty set there. So unfortunately, yes, the two young outfielders for the Yankees will probably start the season in AAA, as well as George Lombard Jr., who, again, I had no inkling whatsoever that they had any chance to make this Major League roster start the season. Obviously, you have Cabarello there ready. At some point, you can get back Volpe, and same thing, you just rather him work on his skill, work on his hitting. Fielding, no problem. I mean, he had like 3 or 4 different gem defensive plays this spring, but of course with him, and I kind of highlighted more on the YouTube show, has been his hitting, barely carrying a 200 batting average in AA there, so doesn't look like he's really ready for the Major League level hitting wise. And same amount of games, 11 games so far this season, only hitting 185, going 5 for 27. So he can field the ball, that seems to be no problem, and looks like he can play shortstop and third base, but the hitting's not there yet on Major League level there, so no shock there at all that he was also sent down to the minor league camp. And for opening day, the Yankees are announcing that Max Fried is going to get the ball to start, because that's the way things are lined up right now. Really doesn't matter the first turn through the rotation, but it's for all the hoopla there. So Max Fried will get that first start for the Yankees, and that's the game against the San Francisco Giants. And switching over to Team USA, with Judge getting shocked by Team Italy. This is after the whole little mishap with Mark DeRosa, the Magic, who kind of gave an interview saying that basically, the team had already punched their ticket into the quarterfinals, which at that point was not exactly true. It's a little kind of weird, and seemed like that game against Italy, maybe they just figured since they're in already, they didn't really put pedal to the metal. Found themselves in like a 9-1 hole or something, or like an 8-0 hole there. Did crawl back and actually had a situation in the 9th inning with Judge with a tying run on base there. Maybe with a dramatic 2-run home run would have tied the game, but unfortunately Judge strikes out and Team Italy shocks Team USA. But on the flip side, saved Team USA's bacon. Of course, the next day, basically how it worked is that Italy needed to defeat Mexico and or keep Mexico within like 5 runs or less. I'm just kind of getting like hockey here. Nevertheless, Team Italy did USA a favor after beating them, beat Team Mexico, so that helped USA to advance to the quarterfinals. And if you want to look at the teams left that have a perfect record, well, Team Italy 4-0, Dominican Republic 4-0, and as well as Otani's Japan team also at 4-0. So you have 3 teams right now that were undefeated going in, but that kind of doesn't mean anything now, as Team USA will enter the quarterfinals. And then again, once that's wrapped up and done, Judge and others will join the Yankees again, and again, kind of a little bit of probably a couple of tune-up games before the season starts. Tim Hill, Yankee reliever, actually is going to replace Ryan Yarbrough, who was initially on the previous round, was on the roster, but I guess they're going to move these guys in and out a little bit, especially the pitching arms, just to be cognizant of other teams there. You don't want to burn a guy out or whatever, overuse a guy too much like that. He does have a season ahead of him. Tim Hill, the very unlikely 36-year-old, now part of Team USA for this round, and let's see how far they go. So that's the episode. Spencer Jones will be in AAA to start the season. Not announced quite yet, but probably Jason Dominguez will be right around the corner. And as they trim down these roster spots to see, how many guys are left, and do you give it to a bench guy? Do you give it to a guy another arm out of the bullpen? Yankees still fine tuning that. I think, as Aaron Boone was quoted saying, this is the table pounding session where I guess the coaches get around the table and kind of argue and who should be on the roster and who should not for the opening day roster. So still fine tune that, but look for Dominguez and Spencer Jones probably not to be on the list, and definitely not George Lombard, who again he still needs to work on that batting average if he wants to be considered a major leaguer. Catch you next time.